Happy 4th of fucking July to you. This is your boy REED-BBS. BBS. Black Burt Sugar. Bachelor's in Boxing Studies. Televisión. Again, happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. Firecrackers, fireworks, cherry bombs, whatever you setting off today. If you're cooking, firecrackers, barbecuing, just hanging out with family and friends, swimming, going to check out some fireworks somewhere later tonight or yesterday or the day after, whatever. Hey, happy Independence Day to you. I want to get straight into some boxing-related historical events that have occurred on Independence Day, July 4th. I'm going to do this in two parts because there's a few fights of note that I want to speak on, but we're going to start off with July 4th, 1910. That's when Jack Johnson fought James J. Jeffries in Reno, Nevada, scheduled for 45 rounds. This particular fight introduced the terms fight of the century as well as great white hope into the sporting lexicon. Literally, fight of the century was first used for this fight, Johnson versus Jeffries. Ditto for great white hope. These were the first two instances of those quotes being used, and they've often been used since then, since 1910. Jack Johnson, he needs no introduction. First black heavyweight champion ever. What I found interesting is he was the seventh man in the gloved era of fighting to hold the heavyweight championship. So first black man to ever hold it, period, and the seventh in the gloved era. So it was bare knuckle dudes doing it before then. We know how the Marcus of Queensberry rules were and whatnot. Jack Johnson, born in Galveston, Texas, 1878. Of course, I'm sporting the Galveston, Texas shirt. I had the pleasure and the privilege and the honor to matchmake a show down there many years ago. In my matchmaking days, Jamal Charlo was on the undercard of all people. So yeah, I got a little smidge of some history, and knowing Jack Johnson was from there, that was part of what prompted me just to do. It was a club show, wasn't nothing big. Charlo may not have even had 10 fights at the time. This was very early in his career, but just like to be attached to that type of boxing history in terms of Galveston and Jack Johnson being from there. Anyway, Jack Johnson, he held the heavyweight title from 1908 till 1915. My man was buck wild, dude. Jack Johnson was off the chain. He was not accommodating. He wasn't this submissive and passive or beta type of male. He was all alpha. And he was alpha in a day when brothers weren't really alpha. Not outwardly like that. Not in public like that. But Jack Johnson was. My man had an itch for white women and fast cars. And let's just say he scratched those itches many times over. Many times over. Jack Johnson didn't give a fuck. Put it that way. He didn't give a fuck. It's simple and plain. He didn't give a damn. The Mann Act. There was a law called the Mann Act, M-A-N-N, that was implemented, I believe, in 1910. Made it illegal to transport white women across state lines for immoral purposes. That's very vague description, but yeah. So Jack Johnson was that dude. He spared a lot, which would get him pulled over, and he'd have white women with him. Well, there's an urban legend of one such incident where he's pulled over. He's got a white woman with him. The cop issued a citation right then. Back in this day, you could reconcile those situations right there in cash if you had it on you. So when he was issued the ticket for speeding and having a white woman with him, Jack Johnson gave the officer twice the amount of the citation itself. And the officer's like, well, look, you gave me too much. What is this? What is this? What is this about? Jack Johnson replied, I'm going to come back through this same road, going the same speed with another white woman, so just don't stop me and keep the money. That's what type of dude Jack Johnson was back in the early 1900s. Again, he was born in 1878. True independent behavior, if there ever was such a thing. Happy Independence Day. Let's celebrate that. Let's get to Jim Jeffries. He was the, you have to have two to tango. He made this scintillating. Jeffries, he retired as undefeated heavyweight champion and was just doing his thing, you know, living his comfortable life. But when Jack Johnson surfaced and was dominant, Jeffries was called upon by the media back then. He was pressured to come dethrone Jack Johnson, to take him off his perch. Jeffries himself refused to ever face black challengers. So and you're undefeated, the lineal champion, who better to, you know, preserve the honor than you? So Jeffries stepped up to the plate. He was deemed the great white hope by the media. And on July 14th, 1910, they fought. There was a stadium constructed just for this fight, a stadium just for the fight itself. But when it played out, Jack Johnson, he was younger, quicker. He was stronger in the clinch. He was more accurate, had a higher ring IQ. He was better defensively. And it was a mismatch, man. It was a flat-out mismatch. 15th round, stoppage. He actually carried Jeffries a bit. There had always been talks that black fighters couldn't take it to the body. So Jack Johnson was known for putting his arms up, just letting dudes hit him in the body, and he would smile at him just to prove that they could take it to the body. After this fight with Jeffries, there were riots across the country, across the U.S. I'm talking in New York, Los Angeles, St. Louis, Houston, New Orleans, Arkansas, Nebraska. There was like as many as 20-plus deaths, all told, just over the aftermath of this fight, man. Just over the aftermath of this fight. We're going to get into a part two of some other fights, but this is the most prominent one to have ever taken place on the 4th of July, Independence Day. And considering the climate, to your boy REED-BBS, there's no greater example of true independence on Independence Day than Jack Johnson versus James J. Jeffries, July 4th, 1910. REED-BBS. Blackbird Sugar, Bachelor's in Boxing Studies. When all is said and done, there's nothing left to say or do.